Okay, welcome to the director's commentary track for Is It a Good Idea to Microwave Dynamite? This is actually the first episode we ever used the Do Not Try This at Home disclaimer on.
I'm your host, George.
Something else you'll also notice about this intro that has been different from all the other intros of the show is that it was done with two separate cameras and edited together, like an actual scripted sketch. And the reason for this is because it was scripted and it was shot with two cameras. The Is It a Good Idea to Microwave Dynamite episode was actually a school project of mine. My junior year of college, I was in digital filmmaking and motion graphics. I created the title sequence for motion graphics, and the rest of the episode was my final project for digital filmmaking. And I got an A in both classes, so I think it worked out for the best. So that's what you see here. This title sequence actually introduced some elements that we later on, like the running Jory wipe. He runs across the screen and wipes the picture with him. That was something that I did as part of my motion graphics course. It was something I learned how to use. And we also, when we were in college, had access to green screen equipment and much nicer cameras. Kind of like that wireless lav mic that Jory's wearing right now. That was a piece of equipment that we got through Emerson College. We borrowed all of the cameras, the microphones, all the stuff we used in this episode we borrowed from Emerson.
So here's our sharp microwave. We have our device inside of it.
We kept calling it a device because we were somehow paranoid that if we said the word dynamite or quarter stick that we would somehow get in sort of legal trouble. But really, it was legal to do it in the state we filmed it in, so I don't know why we were paranoid. It just seemed like kind of a dangerous act to be doing on the internet. So we played it safe and kept calling it a device. It was stupid. So this one episode of the Microwave Show is the only one out of all 200 plus that was filmed with 4 separate cameras. We have the camera on the microwave, we have the camera on Jory, we have this camera on the microwave, and then that wide shot way up on the hill you saw zoom out of a second ago.
I'll go check it. And oddly enough, that was our way
That
out.
voice you just heard was Joe Colasano. He was my college roommate, and he helped us film this, but this is the only episode of the Microwave Show he was ever a part of. This is Joe here on the left filming with the other camera.
Now we have to just go and do it a different way, I guess.
There he
We're
is.
gonna throw some rocks at it, try and break
Yeah, so
open
we
the
filmed
door.
this episode
See what's
with
happening inside.
2
We waited like 20
Panasonic DVXs, the camera we ended up using for pretty much most of the show, as well as an HVX 200, which was an HD camera. Part of this episode was actually filmed in high definition, but as you already know, never got a chance to post it in high definition. That's our friend Ezra Horn. He was also there with us because he was the sidekick for season 2, so of course he was there. It's me wearing my favorite coat.
That's Diane, man.
Rebecca made me get rid of that last year. I was very sad. I loved that coat. It was in the family for a while.
Like a pile of grass or twigs.
It's not an exact time, but it's going to give you more time.
So this whole little documentary feature here was not only a bitch to edit because we were rolling with 2 separate cameras. Neither of them were synced. Some was on one time, the other one was on some of the time. I had to piece together what happened. But mostly we were arguing over whether or not Jory would have enough time to light the fuse and run away, because we were convinced that my dad had bought the dynamite, 20 years ago, wherever he got it, in New Hampshire somewhere, and he had cut it, and we were like, well, how much is left? How long is that fuse?
So it came like that.
Yes.
Why would anyone make an explosive that
I
powerful
don't
you can
know.
never light off?
I don't know. Maybe it is a short fuse. Maybe it is a 5-10 second one. I don't
So
know.
that's me and my father kind of arguing with each other, trying to figure out, wait, so if you got it this way, then it must be safe. So this is Jory running for his life, and here's the explosion. Of course, that scene of Jory behind the rock and him running for life, that was actually a separate shot. We filmed that afterwards. We filmed him running for his life and him ducking behind the rock because we didn't have a camera there at the time because that would have been too dangerous because it was right in front of the microwave. But that wide shot you see of him running, that of course was real. And that's also how we got that super slow motion shot on that wide shot filmed with the HD camera. The HVX actually has a 60 frames per second, and we rented it from Emerson College just for that purpose. Or I should say borrowed. We don't have to pay money because we were students there.
Jory, is it a good idea?
Absolutely. So you may be
This
wondering.
part of the
is it a
episode
good
is
idea
kind of
to
funny because
microwave
Jory doesn't
a
know which of the 2 cameras to look at because we were filming him simultaneously with both of the
Well,
DVXs.
It's never a good idea to microwave.
This episode is actually the only episode, because I did it for a school project, that I storyboarded and scripted out first.
That's it.
And if you stay tuned after the video, I will show you some of those storyboards. And this credit sequence is actually the only one in the show history to use the full theme of the microwave show. Usually it's just a shortened version. And there's the Ideo Productions logo that was used for the next few years. So anyway, here are the storyboards I promised. I had to write these for my motion graphics class, planning out the motions and the ideas I wanted to incorporate into my final project. As I said, I did end up getting an A on that, so I guess everything worked out for the best. I got an A in 2 separate classes and made this awesome YouTube video out of it. So everybody wins. And Jory has said multiple times that this has been his favorite experiment to film just because it was a big adventure for us. We got to go out into the woods. My dad came along, Ezra and Joe. We had 4 cameras. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, that does it for this director's commentary track, folks. Thank you for listening. My name is John, and I hope to talk to you in the very near future.